Hello and welcome to the 2018-2019 winter forecast from Neoweather. I'm meteorologist Brian Ivy alongside Robert Carroll and Mark Spencer. We're excited to bring you one of the most accurate winter forecasts you can find. Thanks for counting on our technology, experience, and forecasting to keep you ahead of Mother Nature.
Brian, can you believe that we have been doing this for 8 years now?
Crazy.
Boy, time really does fly by. Well, we say it almost every year, unfortunately, but another tricky and complex winter forecast looks to be in store yet again this winter, as Mother Nature really does not want to pick sides. Maybe you've heard the banter about whether or not we'll have an El Nino for this winter, or will it be a La Nina?
That's a very good question, Mark. As of right now, it looks like we will be leaning more toward the El Nino side of things. However, the question remains as to how strong of an El Nino we will end up with, or if we'll get stuck in more of a neutral pattern.
Absolutely. Things are coming more into view with some of the pattern drivers. Many factors like low solar activity, ocean and atmospheric patterns, and pressure differences will come together to determine who sees the coldest air and the heaviest snow. Last year featured bouts of warm and cold, and also saw sustained cold and snow for many into April. Could we see something similar happen again this year? We have all the answers in tonight's presentation.
And while you're watching our winter forecast, we'll once again feature our Neowise questions throughout the show. Now don't worry, we're not keeping score, and the points don't matter. They just don't matter.
We'll also tell you how Neoweather can keep your business ahead of the winter weather with our suite of consulting services. Stay tuned for the details on how you can receive accurate weather information for your business from us.
Thank you, Robert. If you're watching our show live and have any questions, be sure to stay tuned to the end of the show for our live Q&A. Post any questions you have in the comments. Our winter forecast starts right now.
As we mentioned in the introduction, there is an El Nino developing for this winter. Now, how strong it gets is yet to be determined. However, on this projection here, we can see we are looking at above average sea surface temperatures right along the equator in the Pacific Ocean. Now, where the warmest sea surface temperature setup will be key. If it's more towards the east, we're looking at a rather average El Nino for the United States. However, if that warm air sets up more towards the central basin of the Pacific, looking at what's called a Molokai El Nino. And these factors will drive the jet stream and what type of weather we get this winter in the United States. Speaking of the jet stream, let's take a look at a feature called the Pineapple Express. This will bring another jet stream, as you'll see in a moment, across the southern portion of the United States, and a lot of moisture with it as well. This is how it develops. High pressure off the Pacific Northwest, south of Alaska, drives the jet stream north across portions of northern Canada and the North Pole, and that'll bring colder air to the eastern portion of the United States. However, as this high pressure begins to break down, the jet stream splits. A southern stream develops, picks up a bunch of moisture, and that brings very wet conditions to the west coast of the United States. And if that were to keep going east, a good portion of the southern United States as well. And that's what we think is going to happen this winter, as we can see on what we think the jet streams are going to do going into 2019. A very active and moist southern jet stream coming into the Central Plains, the Gulf Coast, and even up the eastern seaboard. Another feature we'll watch is the polar jet stream, as this will determine where the coldest air sets up. We believe right now the polar jet stream will come across parts of the northern plains, into the middle Mississippi and lower Ohio Valley, and then off into the mid-Atlantic region. And where these two features come together, or what we call phasing, the merging of the two jet streams, will be key. If they happen in the right point, that could mean some big East Coast storms. You know, those I-95 runners that everyone talks about every year they wish would happen. Could see one or two of those. But if this happens a little bit further west, the Ohio Valley and the Appalachian Mountains could also see some decent snow.
What is the largest one-day snowfall in the United States? And the correct answer would be C, 5 feet 3 inches, which occurred in Georgetown, Colorado on December 12, 1913. And now let's take a look at how the winter weather pattern will shape up across the United States. We'll start out here in the western U.S. and Rockies region. Up here in the northwest, it looks like it's going to really be a concentrated area of the driest and warmest air across the country, from Washington over to Idaho, up into Montana area. You guys are going to remain pretty dry. A few systems here and there, but overall dry. And this is going to extend down into Northern California, over into Nevada, into Utah, where it's going to remain warmer. Once again, same story, a few cooler patterns, but overall pretty much warm and dry for the northern half of this region. Then as you extend down into south central California, over toward Las Vegas and up toward the Four Corners, where you guys are in a pretty decent drought right now, this is going to bring much needed relief to this area, with many up and down swings in temperature and precipitation. So that is something certainly to look forward to. Then extending down into Southern California, Los Angeles, San Diego, over toward Arizona and into New Mexico, there's going to be further much needed drought relief as that active jet stream is moving right along this area, bringing plenty of systems and temperature swings to that area. Moving forward into the North Plains, it looks like it's not going to be nearly as cold up in this area, in the Dakotas area. A few cold outbreaks and Alberta Clipper systems will move through, but overall not as cold as last winter. Then those up and down swings that we looked at for the southwest, that's going to continue up into Nebraska before we reach some drier air for southern Minnesota down into the Des Moines area as well. And as we take it further south into the deep south in the Plains region, you'll see that we'll have a pretty average winter around here, southern Missouri and into south of Kansas City. Then as you go further south by Oklahoma over toward Little Rock, several wintry systems look to move through this area, northern Texas and then over toward the east coast. And then that area of drought relief and wet that we saw in the southwest that extended from Arizona over into New Mexico, that's going to continue in the western part of Texas, right on into where several wintry systems move. And then as you move even further down south into San Antonio region, over toward New Orleans and southern Louisiana, it looks like it's going to be a pretty cool and wet winter out there as that jet stream continues to just push several systems across this area. Coming up, we will take a look at the eastern United States and the Great Lakes region outlook.
Tired of TV weather forecasts that just don't make sense? Frustrated with smartphone weather apps always changing how much snow is on the way?
Weather apps show data from one computer model and not an actual meteorologist. That means inaccurate forecasts for your location. In the frustration and gain peace of mind with Neoweather Consulting. Let us handle the forecast while you focus on your business.
You will save time and money by getting accurate weather forecasts from Neoweather. Detailed information allows snow contractors to better schedule staff, prepare supplies and equipment, and have quicker response times.
The weather forecast is everything in snow and ice management. Neoweather uses advanced technology and strong knowledge of local weather patterns, so you get the best possible forecast.
From our weather analysis to an hourly forecast breakdown for each storm, you'll be prepared for whatever Mother Nature decides to throw at you. Plus, we offer full 24/7 support. Just give us a call or send us an email. You can't get that with Siri.
Contact Neoweather Consulting today for a free quote and 10% off your first month of service. Call or visit our website for a free quote.
Neoweather Consulting, customized weather solutions that bring you peace of mind.
Moving a little bit eastward across portions of the Midwest and also the western Great Lakes right now, we're looking at generally drier weather than an average winter setting up, probably a little bit more on the way of blue skies and sunshine compared to the average gloomy gray winter, and we're not going to see snow piles add up like crazy and sustain themselves. There will still be some Arctic outbreaks coming down from the north, but they should moderate some and be a little less frequent than some winters that are more your classic Great Lakes winters in Grand Rapids, Detroit, and Cleveland. A little bit more normal across Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington in terms of snowfall and also your temperatures. Now, southeast portion of the country, this is really the big area in terms of more wintry fun compared to average. We're looking at several cold air outbreaks and an overall more sustained cooler weather pattern with a decent amount of cloud cover and that active jet stream. This will allow for freeze concerns for the orange crop and the peaches deep into Georgia and Florida, across the Carolinas as well. Could be several freezes and also some wintry weather events. If you have that moisture and also those cold temperatures lining up, areas that normally see maybe a ½ inch of snow could see 2 inches. Spots that see 3 inches could see 8, 10 inches of snow. It's definitely looking like a well above average snowy winter for the deep south, which could create some major concerns. Overall, just chilly across Nashville and Charlotte and well up into the mid-Atlantic as well. This is another area where we could see the right ingredients come together for some major snows. We'll be watching for what we call that high latitude blocking, that negative NAO to set up south of Greenland and Iceland. That'll keep those storms close to the coast versus just going out to sea. And as they wind up and move across portions of the East Coast, this is where you could get your big snow zones and cold sustained air for periods of time, maybe several snows above average in the East Coast area, not as cold back towards the interior. And the same thing goes with the Northeast. We're going to have to watch for lake effect early in the year. There could be some decent snow systems coming in off the Great Lakes due to those really warm lake temperatures, because we've been very warm for the last several months through much of summer into the early fall, but overall not crazy cold across much of the interior. But we will see those wintry systems really set up more towards the I-95 corridor, back into portions of New York City, Boston, and Maine. An above average amount of snow and a little bit colder than average is certainly likely. The Great Lakes have completely frozen over. True or false? The answer is false. The Great Lakes have never completely frozen over. However, they were close in the late 1970s and 2014.
Summarizing our winter forecast, let's start with temperatures first across the United States. Very warm once again up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, down to Portland, Oregon, Northern California, even as far east as eastern Montana. Much above average temperatures this year. Above average temperatures are also very likely for much of California into Nevada, much of the Rocky Mountains into the Northern Plains, and even out into much of the Great Lakes. We'll see above average temperatures. However, we will see some bounce of cold air here and there, especially in the northern plains. We'll see that likely here in November, and then by the time we get to the end of winter, I think we will end up averaging above average for your winter. Average temperatures expected for much of Arizona, New Mexico, the western half of Texas, much of the central plains into the Ohio Valley, and parts of the Northeast. Your cold air is going to be not where you'd expect the cold air to be. Down in the southeastern United States, much of eastern Texas below average temperatures, much of the Gulf Coast, Florida below average temperatures, the mid-Atlantic below average temperatures. And where is the heart of the cold going to be? Where else? The heart of Dixie. Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, Columbia, South Carolina, much below average temperatures for this winter. If you don't own a winter jacket and you live there, I'd suggest getting one here before winter strikes. Let's look at precipitation across the country next. And where it's generally warmer, it's drier. Where it's generally cooler, it's wetter. And that's exactly what we see here. Drier conditions across much of the Pacific Northwest, drier conditions across much of the Great Lakes. Average precip, much of the plains into the Rocky Mountains. I do think ski season here is going to be just fine. I think you'll be okay there. We're also looking at average precip for much of the middle Mississippi and Ohio Valley and parts of the northeastern U.S. Wetter conditions, however, once again across Southern California into Arizona, New Mexico, much of Texas, the Gulf Coast, and then on up the East Coast. That's going to be our active storm track as well. Looking at snowfall across the country this winter, we are looking at much below average snowfall for much of the Pacific Northwest, average conditions for much of the Rocky Mountains, a nice quiet winter overall in the Great Lakes, below average snowfall. Not as much lake effect this year. We're looking at average conditions otherwise in parts of New Mexico and Arizona, parts of the plains, parts of the Ohio Valley, and also parts of the northeastern United States. Where are we going to find the snow? not where you'd expect to find it too much. Above average snowfall expected in much of Texas, the Gulf Coast, and on up into the southeastern United States and into the mid-Atlantic. Much above average snowfall from roughly Jackson, Mississippi, through Atlanta, Charlotte, North Carolina, and on into Washington, D.C. And there are some places here that only average a few inches of snow every year, so you could easily double that and be much above average. So if you don't own a snow shovel, now may be the time to invest in one of those too. What was the coldest winter on record in the United States? The answer is B. 1936 was the coldest year on record in the United States, with February of 1936 being the coldest month on record. Thank you for watching the 2018-2019 winter forecast from Neoweather.
Visit our website at neoweather.us for the latest weather information.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram for the latest weather updates.
And if your business is tired of inaccurate forecasts from smartphone apps and TV weather forecasts, give us a call or email us. We would love to talk with you about how we can help your snow and ice business be more efficient and save money with our accurate weather data.
Our weather information is centered around your specific operation and impacts, which provide great value. Having easy access to a team of meteorologists helps you be the best snow removal company in town. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for our live Q&A.